back to Animation Pilgrimage, the show where Sean and I take a look at every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order. I'm Tennille.
I'm Sean. So that's the story summary.
Yeah. Basically.
Thank you for watching the review.
Today we watched Ubo et la Gidouille.
Ubu et la Grande Gidouille.
Anyway, that's
It's
the
French.
title. Thank you all for joining us for this review.
Don't recommend. See you next time. Okay, a little more context. This is from Les Films Armorial from France.
Mm-hmm.
I have to ask right away, is this the same person that brought us Mr. and Mrs. Cabal's Theater?
Sort of. So, was not the same person who directed that film.
Okay.
This was directed by Jan Lanica, who also directed Adam 2.
Okay.
Which I remember absolutely nothing about.
Yeah.
I just remember that we watched it. So I had to go back into Animation Pilgrimage and, like, look at it. And I'm like, oh, right. This mess.
Which one was Adam 2?
The one where Adam is, like, sleeping and then he, like, dream walks in a whole bunch of different places. I don't know, man. It was dumb. It was bad. We hated it.
I mean, I believe it, but I genuinely have no idea what Adam 2 is.
I had to I had to look through several Animation Pilgrimage playlists because I didn't remember what year it was either. And the information on the wiki for, like, everybody involved in this has its date so messed up that Adam 2 was listed as being made in 1968, 1970, and, like, some other date. And so I had to, like, look in several different spots. I was like, what? I know we watched this. I remember what the thumbnail of the video looks like, but I do not remember anything about the movie.
I don't even remember the thumbnail. So...
But anyway, he was a collaborator with Walerian Browask, who made Mr. and Mrs. Cabal's Theater.
So it was a collab between two art house films that we didn't care about, and they made another art house film that we didn't care about. Who could have seen that coming?
Right. I mean, I guess give Mr. and Mrs. Cabal's Theater some credit. It was longer ago we saw that compared to Adam 2. Adam 2 is much more recent. And I remember Mr. and Mrs. Cabal's Theater. I don't remember Adam 2.
Like, I'm trying to think of Adam 2, and all I see is Mr. Rossi, and I know that's incorrect.
Yeah, no. So, normally, the director of this film actually worked as a graphic designer and poster illustrator. That shouldn't be a surprise.
With the art style that is present in this film.
And this film is actually based on a play called Ubu Roy, which is a parody of Hamlet / King Lear from 1896.
That feels accurate, because this movie feels like it's a parody of something that I have no idea what it's talking about.
I mean, I barely understood what was going on.
But knowing that it was a parody of Hamlet suddenly makes everything actually almost make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I recognize these character tropes, but I don't exactly... There's not enough here for me to really know what's going on. And because I don't speak the native language, I don't understand what the tone is supposed to be.
I mean, it definitely seemed to be incredibly satirical. Important disclaimer here. Any images that we show from this movie are generally pretty disturbing.
Not in any, like, well, I mean, some of it's a bit gory, but, like, it's so unsettlingly ugly that, like, viewer discretion is advised before looking at this.
Which is a weird thing to say, but, like, I did not like watching this movie.
No.
Here's a brief story synopsis.
Good luck.
Ubu has a wife, and they hate each other, and they want power, so they stage a coup and become the king and queen of Poland. Everybody hates him because he's a rich asshole and steals everybody's money and kills anyone that gets in his way.
I mean, he's like a gluttonous pig even before they stage the coup.
He's incredibly gross.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rightful heir re-overthrows him, and now we're like halfway through the movie, and they briefly go to war with Russia. Okay. Anyways, they escape to France. I think they say they're going to France, but then they briefly mention Germany, and then I have no idea where they go. It doesn't matter.
After the monarchy plot, like, it really just lost me. Like, I was like, this is a little confusing, but I'm following along with everything. But that's only, like, the first act.
Yeah, that was the first half of the movie, was the Hamlet plot. Now we're done with Hamlet, and I cannot for the life of me tell you why any of this is happening. Anyways, they go to a scientist guy, but then they take over his life, and so Ubu becomes a scientist doctor, and he like chops people's heads open and takes out their brains and puts newspapers in it. I don't know what's going on. And then his wife solicits a pianist, and so he throws the pianist to a monster, and then we see the pianist is now half monster. Is this supposed to be their offspring or something? I don't know what's going on here.
Is it supposed to be taken literally?
I mean, I don't think so, but I don't know.
Right.
And then he decides he's done being a doctor, and instead he wants to free himself of any obligations by becoming a slave or servant. So he becomes an indentured servant to someone else, and then just ruins a party by being the worst servant ever. And so he's thrown in jail, and then while he's on trial, he speaks about how him being a servant is the most freeing thing possible. Down with freedom, up with slavery of yourself. So he gets thrown on a prison boat, and then all of the other rich hoity-toity assholes are like, man, we also need to stop being free thinkers. And they also, like, storm the jail and take all the jail cells. And then it's briefly mentioned that Ubu is, like, the long-lost brother of a Middle Eastern prince or something, but he can never know. Otherwise, it'll go to his head. And then he flies into the sky and eats every character that existed in this movie. He crashes to the earth, explodes, and then a bunch of different Ubus float out of his stomach, and the movie mercifully ends. I don't know what any of that second half meant. Like, I get the concepts of being satire, but I don't understand what exactly they're
satiring
and what they're trying to get at.
Satirizing?
Yeah. So
dude, I don't know. All I know is that I hate movies like this. I hate the fact that the art aesthetic makes it so it is impossible to understand what is going on because it's so cheap and doesn't move enough for the characters to have any characterization to them other than we're telling you that this is what this character is like. This was awful to look at. The characters are... Obviously, this is supposed to be a, like, everybody's an asshole story, and that's what makes it charming, but it's not charming.
Yeah, and, like, the quality of the film itself has deteriorated significantly over the past 50 years. 40? No, we're actually a lot closer to 40 now.
Yeah.
Wow, we're at the end of the 70s. Holy crap.
I know.
Whoa.
We're almost to the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah. that's really all I've got to say about this. I really hope we don't see a lot more of this kind of black and white art housey.
I want more foam bath art house and
Yeah.
less Ubu art house.
Less Mr. and Mrs. Cabal's theater.
Mm-hmm. I know those are completely
Or
different
Heaven and
companies
Earth
and
magic.
countries, but like
These cutout animations that like are barely animated kill me.
they're
Just
not good.
burn it in a fire. Do not like.
Because
The less of these I have to see, the better. And I knew going into this that we would have to watch some of these.
mm-hmm.
But like,
They're bad. They're just bad.
they're just bad. They're just bad. I hate them. However, you know, I am human and I am curious. So if anyone does know what the hell was going on, please let me know in the comments below.
If you've watched this film and you, especially if you speak French, what happened?
Also, if you're interested in this, maybe go to Wikipedia and help them clean up their articles a bit, because their dates are all over the place and it's atrocious.
So, needless to say, don't watch this. Skip this hot garbage.
Mhm.
And instead join us in our next film, which would have been Lupin III, The Castle of Cagliostro, which is said to be the best Lupin movie, I think.
Mhm.
But there's a new Blu-ray coming out at the end of this month, so we have pre-ordered that, and we're going to watch that version because it has literally every sub and dub version ever made, all collected onto a disc.
Mhm.
So we're going to watch that. So we're going to have to skip that movie, and we'll come back to it once we get it.
Right.
So-
We should be reviewing it by the end of this review year.
Oh, yeah. It'll
So-
still arrive before we're done with the 1979.
Yeah.
So instead, we're going to be watching The Little Convict from Australia.
Yep.
All right.
See you then.